Welcome back to the All Ball Podcast, where it's all ball all the time. You are here with your host, Sean and Isaiah. This is episode number 23, and today we're going to have a very Rockets-themed podcast today with a hint of Kyrie in it at the end. We're going to talk about Christian Wood's and KPJ's argument with the coaching staff of the Rockets. Then we're going to move on to the Wizards game that they played against the Rockets, where KPJ hit a buzzer beater. Then finish off with some Christian Wood trades, and then move on to Kyrie returning to the Nets. But before that, Isaiah, how are you feeling today?
You know, I'm kind of in a weird place because there's been a lot of ups and downs as a Rockets fan within the past few days. And so, honestly, I don't know whether I should be excited or upset or anything. I'm just taking it day by day at this point with the Rockets.
Yeah, I am too. With everything that's going on, it makes me even more scared for the trade deadline. But I'll kind of get it more into that when we talk about the Christian Wood trades.
Mm-hmm.
You'll understand why then.
Okay.
But let's go ahead and I guess get started on the first topic, which is the argument with Christian Wood, KPJ, and then the coaching staff.
Mm-hmm.
What could you possibly think it was about? Like, what was your theory of what it was?
Honestly, I had no clue. But the thing is, this does take me back because I remember during that game against the Bucks when Armani Brooks got crossed, there was a clip of him and Christian Wood arguing, and we talked about that, and we were like, "Oh, let's hope that this isn't like a thing with the team, that this is just a one-off because he was mad that he got crossed."
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and it appears that it's not a one-off, and that this is really a problem with the team. So while I'm not sure what that whole argument could have been about, like I have no speculation even, I think that it does now fully expose a much larger problem with the team.
So this is on Twitter, and I don't know if the source, how reliable the source is.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm guessing this is all just speculation, but one of the things that I've heard was that the argument was fueled over John Lucas saying that their effort on defense was poor, and that he was basically just going off of them, being pretty hard about it. You know, I'm guessing they're not used to Steven Silas going, I guess, hard on them because we've talked about how Steven Silas isn't the most hard coach.
Yeah, he's not very assertive.
Yeah, so I'm guessing they weren't just ready for John Lucas to be that tough on him. And we've talked about how their defense isn't great, but there's guys out there like, I guess you could say David Nwaba, even though we've talked about him not really being that great. He puts in a lot of defensive effort. I'll give him that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Daniel Tyson, another guy we've talked about. We've talked about his situation, but he also plays really good defense on the inside.
Garrison Matthews shows some good effort on that end too.
Jayshawn
Tate, of course.
Yeah. But these guys, Jayshawn Tate, Garrison Matthews, were out, and those two, even Garrison Matthews is not the best defender, but he tries hard, tries really, really hard. Our defense was lacking over the last couple of games. It was very clear. It was very bad. So that's, even though the source wasn't reliable, that's probably what my guess would be too. That the debate was fueled over defensive play.
Okay. And I could believe that now that, the thought is out there and I have something to go on. That makes sense because, like you said, we've talked about it many times before. This team's defense is questionable, if I'm going to be nice about it. And their effort is even more questionable, continuing to be nice about it. So, if he were to happen to go off on them about their lack of defensive effort, that wouldn't surprise me. And then also, it wouldn't surprise me if they took it poorly and had a whole hissy fit about it,
Yeah.
and stormed out of the arena, refused to sub into the game because, also like you said, we've talked about how soft Steven Silas is on them.
Mm-hmm.
And really just in general, as a coach, he's just pretty soft and laid back or whatever. So I could understand that. Well, I can't understand because these are grown men we're talking about, but I could at least see how they could take that the wrong way and not like that coming out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Especially more so with Christian Wood. Like with KPJ, we only have him on our team because he revealed attitude problems in Cleveland.
Right.
So it's not too surprising. But Christian Wood is 26, very well into his 20s, adulthood. He's also had a lot of tough times in the league, bouncing between G League, bouncing team to team, being out the league. So you'd think that he would be more mentally equipped to handle some tough criticism, but I guess not.
Yeah, I mean, I expect that from the guys that are younger because, you got to think good portion of our team is actually younger than both me and you.
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Green, Garuba,
Mm-hmm.
Shingun, Christopher,
Yeah.
all those guys are younger than us. But Christian Wood, who I kind of look to as the leader of our team, other than, well, when John Wall was playing or Eric Gordon, but I don't think Eric Gordon is that vocal of a leader.
Mm-hmm.
DJ Augustine's up there, veteran, but, he's not, I don't think he's a leader either.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of look to Christian Wood being a star player and being the oldest of the main guys that actually play to be the leader. And, well, we cannot have our leader, getting upset over being held accountable.
Yeah, you see, it sets a bad precedent for the rest of the team because if I don't want to call him star necessarily since he's not necessarily a star level player,
Mm-hmm.
but if our quote star is going to act like that when we try and hold him accountable, have him own up to the fact that he's just giving less than 100% effort when he's out there on defense, then it feels like the rest of the team kind of can take from that and say, oh, hey, if he can get upset about it, I can get upset about it too.
Right.
And then it breeds a toxic environment because then you have players who aren't going to want to hear the truth. If you tell them the truth, they're going to take it wrong. Now there's an argument. Now people storming off, people not subbing in, people subbing in and then not playing hard, playing lackadaisically, just throwing balls, however, getting turnovers, probably gambling for stupid passes for no reason. And it just ruins the whole cohesiveness of the team.
Yeah, it's a domino effect.
Mm-hmm.
I guess one of the biggest takeaways is we kind of need Jayshawn Tate, not only to be our defensive leader, but just to be a glue guy all around.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like a Draymond Green. Like we've
That's
talked about.
exactly what I was thinking.
We've compared him to Draymond Green before, and I think that's basically his exact player comp.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, he's not the most offensively skilled guy, but he can play make for his teammates and he can get to the rim pretty well. He's a very good defender, very great defender. Plays very hard on that side of the ball, but also kind of holds the team together, if you know what I mean. Also, this is not really a great thing, but his emotions, almost like Draymond Green, kind of get out of hand at the same time. But you kind of like to see that sometimes from a defensive leader.
Yeah,
just
it's more of that. I love the game. I'm passionate about the game kind of emotion.
Yeah, so sometimes we see that on the court when that happens on during the Rockets games, and it kind of lights a fire into the team. So I kind of like seeing that sometimes. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about? About this kind of argument that happened in the coaching staff and Christian Wood and KPJ?
No, we can move on to the next game because there's some things I wanted to address about that.
Yeah, so the argument was the bad side of what happened this week. The good side was their return after the suspension and KPJ hitting a game winner, buzzer beater on the Wizards over who was it?
Raul Neto.
Neto, yeah. So I guess you want to give your ideas about our thoughts, what you thought about the game.
So while I did not get to watch the whole game, I did tune in mainly to the second half of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I can say that for one, the Rockets, they played with my emotions because they were starting to lose the game. And as you saw, as it got down the stretch to the point where he had to hit a game winner to win the game, they definitely almost lost this game. And part of that is, like we were just talking about, defense. They just weren't getting proper stops.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, I'll say that this game, I'll say that it was good in the sense that we saw them take a big lead. And even though they lost that lead, we saw them get it back and even tie the game and then win the game. So it shows at least some solid fortitude, some solid experience in this team. But one thing that I really did not like this, and this is more than just our team specifically. This happens a lot around the league. But the game was tied. Yet, for whatever reason, we just accepted that Kevin Porter Jr. isoing into a step back three was our best chance to win the game. I don't know who thought that was supposed to be our best chance, but I definitely didn't. And I was highly upset that he even shot that shot. Now, obviously, I got over it pretty quickly in the moment because he made it. So I was like, okay, all right, I'll take it. But now that kind of euphoria moment of, oh, wow, he made that and we won another game is over, I can come back to reality and just look at the fact that was probably one of the worst possible shots we could have gotten to win the game.
It was kind of one of those no, oh yes moments.
Exactly. Just like the one time when we went to the game, Westbrook shot a three and everybody went no, and then he made it and we were like, oh, hey. Yeah. It was that moment.
I think that's anytime Westbrook shoots past like 15 feet. I'm okay with the ISO and the shot, but I'm not really happy with who shot it because of how they were doing that game. Kevin Porter Jr. was not having a great game. He ended up finishing 3 for 13 and 2 for 12 before he shot that shot.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would have been better off with Christian Wood probably getting it down in the post, or even Eric Gordon trying to get a ISO and off the dribble type of score.
Because Eric Gordon, he shot very well that game. So if anybody was going to take a three to hit the game winner, I wanted it to be him.
Yeah, Eric Gordon's been shooting the three ball really well this year, and even since the last 2 years coming off of that injury that he had in the bubble and the season after the bubble, he's been one of the best finishers at the rim in the whole league.
I was just about to say that too, because I was going to say another reason that I trusted him more with our final shot is because I know that he at least could have tried to carve a path to the lane to get the two to win it. And I could have trusted him to do that. Whereas with Kevin Porter Jr., one, I had no belief that he was going to try and cut his way to the rim to win the game. So already that had me nervous. And then on top of that, I had no belief that he would make it if he did carve his way to the rim. Whereas, Eric Gordon, like you said, he's been one of the best rim finishers, definitely one of the best rim finishing guards in the league. And then
Yeah.
on top of that, he has been shooting lights out as expected from him.
Yeah, the only thing that scares me about Eric Gordon is his handles. We've kind of clowned him about his handles before, and every once in a while he'll just do the really hard brawn between the legs type of thing, and he'll lose the ball, and it just I don't know. We both think of a kindergartner when we see that, but um, I still trust him more in that moment than I did KPJ, just because I knew how bad he was doing that game. And maybe if KPJ's hot that game and he's hitting threes and I don't know, he's just not doing so bad efficiently. Um, then maybe I trust him more.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. It's the whole hot hand philosophy. You want to
Yeah.
give the guy who's been clearly on fire the whole game the chance to continue to be on fire.
Yeah, it
But
was kind of like that. We talked about how Jason Tatum took the last shot instead of Jaylen Brown that one
exactly,
time when Jaylen
exactly.
Brown was on fire the whole game.
Yeah, it was the opening game of the season for them against the Knicks.
Oh, okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And that was when they got into that first overtime, and he decided to take a mid-range jump shot over RJ Barrett.
Wow, that feels like a long time already.
Oh yeah, time flies, and then you look back, and it's like, wait, we're already here.
Yeah, that was the opening game of the season. Wow, I thought that was at least like 4 or 5 games in, but no, I guess okay. Yeah. So, were there any other takeaways in this game that you wanted to talk about?
Um, I don't think there were any other major takeaways. Obviously, like I said, our defense just as a whole, it definitely needs some more work.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I do want to go back to something you said, where you said you also would have liked to see Christian Wood on the post with the ball to win it.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have liked that, because there have been a lot of times where I've seen Christian Wood go to like high post type of situation, and then he just settles for a long two, and he misses it a lot of times. And I would not have liked to see that, because there's no reason that this 6'10" dude should be on the block with a guard on him, and then he turns around and shoots a jump shot.
Yeah, no, definitely not high post. I guess I should clarify that I meant low post, because I've seen the same thing too, where he catches the ball back to the rim, turns around, just kind of looks at the defender for a little bit, jab steps, and then pulls up. Like he thinks he's Braun or something. I don't know, but I hate those shots too, because he always misses them. He'll hit one every once in a while, but most of the time he'll miss them. No, I was thinking more of a just kind of back him down and try to get the best shot available. I guess maybe I don't know, but I know we didn't have how much time was on the clock that we had. We had 20 seconds.
Oh
It
yeah,
was about
yeah.
22 seconds.
It was a long shot clock, and they just
Yeah,
kind of ran it down.
yeah. And then of all things, I know Raul Neto was guarding Jalen Green, but Jalen Green to set the screen. I know it worked, but I feel like we should have had someone else set the screen if we were actually trying to
I mean, the whole point that they were going for there was just to
get the
get the
switch.
switch. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, obviously, if he was trying to seriously use a screen to get to the rim or get open or something, then yeah, no, Jalen Green would have been a horrible option, because he weighs like 15 pounds.
Yeah. One of the other things that I took away from this game, and it wasn't the Rockets, it was actually Bradley Beal. What do you see him actually being worth trade value wise? Because we've heard him being in some trade rumors, even last year going to the Warriors or whatever. He wasn't efficient this game that we played him.
Mm-hmm. And he even fouled out of the game.
Yeah. So what do you think the Wizards could actually get for him?
I definitely could see them getting some good young pieces, maybe even a solid first round pick included in that, or getting a really good first round pick and then getting some solid young pieces, maybe one or two.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think something along the lines of that. I definitely don't see. You see, I think of his value somewhere around like Paul George, so to speak, when he was getting traded.
Hmm.
But the thing is, when he got traded to the Clippers, everyone was talking about how that trade was an absolute fleece. And so I think somewhere along the lines of the Pacers trade that went down,
Hmm.
it's something that I could see for Bradley Beal.
Okay. I don't remember the exact details of the Pacers trade
Yeah, I
or
just
the.
remember most notably is Victor Oladipo and Sabonis got sent there.
Oh my god, I forgot. Uh, Oladipo played on.
The Thunder.
Yes, and it feels like so long ago.
You see, that's because, especially since that was pre-pandemic time, yeah, that it really feels like a long time.
Yeah, even he. Oh my god, he played on the Magic too.
Oh, I mean, but yeah, that's where he started his career, so that was
Yeah, I know,
really
but
a long time ago.
wow. Yeah, I don't know. I just having like thinking of all these old players now. Like, and it's not even that old. It's just like 4, 5, 6 years ago, and it feels like forever just because of the pandemic or whatever.
Mhm.
Um. Okay, so was there anything else you want to talk about that game there, or do you want to kind of move on to the Wizards trade? I feel like this is a good transition.
Actually, one last thing I wanted to talk about that game,
Okay.
and it was the situation where the commentator calling the game
Oh
after
yeah.
Jalen, I mean, not, after Kevin Porter Jr. hits the game winner, he says something along the lines
Oh
of,
man.
like his father, he knows how to pull the trigger right at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
And you see, I think people blew it way out of proportion, especially when LeBron got involved. Like he's anyone to speak after the whole China situation with Daryl Morey.
Mm-hmm.
So I think LeBron had no place in this conversation at all, and he should have just stayed silent. But outside of that, I think that it legitimately was blown out of proportion because it truly was an honest mistake. And I know it was an honest mistake because I actually made this same mistake when I was first looking at the original Kevin Porter who played in the league,
Mm-hmm.
because I was just on 2K one day looking at records because, I was trying to set records with one of my creative players. And so I was looking at assists and it's like, oh, hey, this Kevin Porter guy got 29 assists. Hey, is he Kevin Porter Jr.'s dad or something?
Oh
And I had to look it up and it was like, oh, he's definitely not his dad.
yeah. I
And with that, it also exposed something that I can 100% guarantee that commentator did not know. And it's that Kevin Porter Jr.'s first name isn't even actually Kevin, it's Brian. So,
wait. I didn't even know that.
see,
What?
see,
Wait, hold on. Let me look this up.
yeah, his actual name is Brian Kevin Porter Jr.
What? Why? I mean, not why, but like,
Well,
why?
like why go by
Yeah,
Kevin?
why would I go? What? Yeah.
Exactly. You see, and that's the whole point there. That is the whole point. Because the only way that he wouldn't make that mistake was if he knew that he wasn't actually Kevin Porter Jr. Because the only way you would know about his dad is if you knew about the fact that his dad actually was Brian Porter, or like went by Brian Porter.
Yeah. Look, for me, when I heard about this, the main thing that I thought about was it happens. People make mistakes. I think this should just be a conversation between Kevin Porter Jr. and the commentator.
Mm-hmm.
They should clear it themselves. Have a internal conversation. Only them they know about. Clear it.
Mm-hmm.
But this also brought something else to my mind. like especially when the draft happens, they go so much into a player's background and give like so much unnecessary stuff. Like you've seen the memes, right?
Mm-hmm.
When a player's getting drafted, they talk about how
Yeah.
like
It'd be like, oh,
something.
he used to cook dinner with his mom every night before he
Yeah,
came.
what does that matter? Like, just talk about his skill set, what he did in college, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the stuff they talk about is very unnecessary. And I think that all this research that they give to these people that are commentating,
Mm-hmm.
it kind of enables them, I guess you could say, to be able to say stuff like that. I don't know. It may not be exactly linked to it, but
Mm-hmm.
it's what brought up in my head. It's what came up.
Yeah. And you see the thing about all of that, like extra stuff about family and all of that, is that most of the time they do that with the higher draft picks.
Mm-hmm.
And KPJ went like 30th, I think, something around there. So it would make sense if they didn't even do that with him when he got picked.
Yeah. Now, like I understand, like if you're with your parents in the home or something like that during the draft night, and you just kind of talk about maybe how your dad was the one that got you into basketball,
Mm-hmm.
but all the other stuff, like how you said,
Yeah.
very unnecessary to me. Just I don't know. Um. Okay. I
Yeah, we
ready to
can
move
move.
on.
We can
Okay. All right. So I went ahead and made some trades for Christian Wood because after the, I guess, argument, a lot of Rockets fans were kind of saying, or I saw that on Twitter. It was time to move on from Christian Wood because he also doesn't fit the timeline of our young guys.
Mm-hmm.
So I went ahead and made some trades. I made 3 of them, and all of them involve Christian Wood, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the first trade that I have is with the Warriors, and the Rockets received James Wiseman, Andre Iguodala, and a 22 second round pick. Warriors receive Christian Wood and a 2024 second round pick via themselves, Golden State, one of the picks they traded to us. So thought process here was give them Christian Wood so they can win now, and we get Wiseman because of he's young,
Mm-hmm.
promising still. Iguodala to fill contract, a 22 second round pick because it'll help us speed up our rebuilding process, and give them back their 2024 second round pick because around that time Steph Curry should probably be starting to decline,
Mm-hmm.
and that'll kind of be around the time they start to go young. So, what are your thoughts on that trade?
I think I like that trade. One, because it allows us to trade Christian Wood for a big man that would be more along our timeline.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember before we talked about how I didn't like saying that because he's older, he doesn't fit our timeline.
Yeah.
But I think the thing about him is that it's clear that he's peaked. He's not going to get much better, if at all, than he is right now.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, I think he really just won't fit our timeline, because if he's already playing at his absolute best and the rest of our guys are still trying to find their own way, then it's clear that he's not going to have fun here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I like that we're going to be trading him for another big man who will be on our timeline. Don't really have much to say about, the Iguodala or really the other picks. Because like I said before, when we talked about trading for picks and all that,
Yeah.
I really like the young core that we already have established. And I'm not really sure that there's much else that we could get that would really just blow me away unless we got another top 2 pick.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I think the biggest thing I like about that trade is getting Wiseman.
Okay. I would say that the next 2 trades, especially the third trade, are pick heavy.
Mm-hmm.
But the second trade this would be with the Hornets because they need a big man pretty badly.
Mm-hmm.
We received Mason Plumlee, Kai Jones, a 2022 second via Toronto, and a 2023 via first round pick, top 3 protected. they receive Christian Wood and a 2024 second round pick via Brooklyn. So we get Kai Jones, who's, I think he could be something in the league,
Yeah, he has good potential.
Yeah, and then the picks, obviously. And they get their big man.
I would say, first of all, I obviously like this one a lot less.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, I really don't like this one at all. One, because then we pick up Plumlee, and I really just don't feel like Plumlee would do anything positive for our team, nor would we do anything positive for him.
Mm-hmm.
So it just feels like it would be a mutually dead situation.
Yeah, well, Plumlee was only for salary filling.
Yeah, I know. It's just because that was the first person you named, so I'm going in order. So there's that. And then on top of that, Kai Jones, while, like I said, he has shown some flashes of what he could be, I feel like he was picked relatively low for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just not sure how well he'll really pan out, since we haven't even seen him play in an actual like NBA game yet. I think he's only played in the G League.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not really sure if I'll like getting him in return for Christian Wood either. And then, like I said, I already spoke about how I feel about picks.
Yeah.
So
okay, well then I guess you probably won't like trade 3 because we aren't really getting much in return. Well, as in talent wise. So Rockets receive Al Horford. Listen, Al Horford. 2022, 2023 first round picks and a 2023 second round pick via Portland. Christian Wood goes to Celtics. So does Eric Gordon and a 2026 second round pick.
Okay, I first and foremost want to say that I don't like the idea of Al Horford in a Celtics jersey, in a Rockets jersey.
I don't either, but I was just saying just to get the picks because he matches the salary for both.
Yeah, and also, like I said, while picks can be good, I'd prefer to trade somebody of Christian Wood's caliber for somebody who's already somewhat established in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I like the Wiseman trade so much, because we've seen Wiseman play in NBA games. We've seen his potential and how well it could pan out. And that's also part of the problem why I didn't like getting Kai Jones back, because we just haven't seen enough from him when we're trading a borderline all-star caliber player.
Yeah, so I mean, I did the trades in the order that I think would best benefit the Rockets.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously James Wiseman, former second overall pick.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I just kind of want to get your idea on those, but I guess we can move on already to the Kyrie. Wasn't much to discuss other than our thoughts on him.
Mm-hmm.
So Kyrie came back and already played one game. What do you think this does for the Nets moving forward? Obviously, I don't think he's going to be a distraction anymore. Does this kind of take the pressure off of Harden and how do I put this? Does it kind of take the pressure off of Harden because it kind of felt at times he was forcing himself to kind of be back in that Houston role?
Okay. First, I want to address the fact that you said he's not a distraction anymore. I do want to say that he is only a part-time player, so he is still gonna somewhat be a distraction.
Mm-hmm.
Because they only activated him to play because they were running out of options with all the health and safety and injuries problems.
Mm.
So with that being said, he's definitely still going to be at least somewhat of a distraction to the team.
Mm-hmm.
But then moving on to the next thing, I will say that even in this game, Harden looked like he was still trying to do a little bit too much with Kyrie there. So I would say that he definitely relieves a noticeable amount of weight and load off of Harden.
Mm-hmm.
But there's clearly still just going to be an aspect of Harden that's just who he is, where he feels like he has to do a lot.
Yeah, I think that's just because of who he's been over the last, 8 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but so the reason I say he's not a distraction because I think it's more of a distraction that he doesn't play at all, and he's just not contributing whatsoever, rather
Mm-hmm.
than at least he's still able to play sometimes, half the games,
Mm-hmm.
while also not being forced to do what he doesn't want to do, which is get the vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I think they're both able to come to somewhat of an agreement rather than both sides gaining nothing. And I think that'd be more of a distraction.
You see, I'm not saying he's more of a distraction because he definitely was more of a distraction when you have him just sitting at home collecting checks.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm saying that he still is at least somewhat of a distraction because there's
Okay.
still going to be that question mark of, well, what games will he be able to play and won't he be able to play?
Right.
And then depending on who they match up with in the playoffs, he might not be able to play entire series even. So
Yeah, I get you. I get you.
that's where I think the distraction still is, because the only way he's not a distraction at all anymore is if you just there's no concerns and you know when he can and can't play, and more so when he is physically able to play or physically unable to play, rather than, dang, he still hasn't gotten his shot, so we can't play against these California teams and he can't play these home games or whatever. So I think that's where the distraction still is. And getting vaccinated would be the only way that he's just full on not a distraction.
Right. I get you. I get you. I get you. Yeah. So I mean, I really don't personally have much to say about it other than I'm happy he's back. I think it's good for the game. Other than, of
Mm-hmm.
course, that he won't be able to play like you talked about the California games or the home games or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but other than that, like I said, I think it's great for the game. So it'd be the same thing with Ben Simmons coming back, but I don't want to talk about him right now. Uh, on the other half of that game, Lance Stevenson had a pretty great game.
Oh yeah.
He was every time I see him playing, every time I saw him take a shot, it just reminds me of him blowing into Bron's ear. That's all I could think about is Lance when I see Lance Stevenson.
You
He's
see,
just a meme.
the main thing I think about is just all of his Lakers antics from
Mm-hmm.
that time that he spent playing with LeBron,
Yeah.
and just between the ridiculous Shaq in a full plays between him and JaVale as teammates, like trying to do crazy 360s and fumbling with the ball and doing his
Guitar strum.
his guitar strum celebration all in other people's faces. He really is just a walking meme.
Yeah. But it's cool to see him back in the league too. They actually do really well compared to, most guys that came back into the league didn't do so well.
Yeah, some guys, they come back and they constantly have negative plus minuses and they contribute absolutely nothing positively. So
Yeah. So was there anything else you wanted to talk about in this episode?
no, I think that's everything that was really on my mind.
All right. Well, then that'll be the end of the episode. If you like the episode, go ahead and like and subscribe. Share, leave a comment down below. Isaiah, anything else you wanted to talk about? Last comments?
Don't forget the usual. Share the podcast with as many people as you can. Anybody that you think would enjoy it, just try and get the name out there. And of course, don't forget, please interact with us in the comments or on the Instagram at allballpodcastyt. Leave suggestions, requests, or just your general thoughts.
Mm-hmm. All right. We'll catch you on the next episode. Later.